I love a good hero shooter. You know, I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, and I used to play a lot of Overwatch back in its heyday. And you know, I also like a lot of Nintendo's games, for the most part. I think it'd be interesting to see what Nintendo's take on a hero shooter would be. And while I don't think they would ever really do this, I think it'd still be interesting to think about, you know, what characters could make it in, or what their movesets could be. So this video is exactly that. It's a huge hypothetical. What if Nintendo had a hero shooter? Maybe this could be their next Smash game for the Switch 2. Who knows? Probably not. They should probably call it something else. But I mean, either way, it's not like I can get a Switch 2 this year because holy fuck these game prices. But you know, with the Switch 2 having the mouse mode and all, I think it'd be fitting for Nintendo to do something like this. I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, about a month ago, I polled you guys on a couple of characters poses, and basically this video is what it's for. So I will be illustrating these characters in the Marvel Rivals art style. Not really, not completely. I won't be fitting them into the proportions of the game, more of the rendering styles really. I'm not really redesigning these characters either, because I noticed that like in Smash, it's not like Nintendo redesigns these characters to fit a certain aesthetic. It's more of really the rendering style here. So I will be doing the same, and also discussing a bit of my post rationale and like why this incarnation of the character specifically. So let's start off with our first character, and unsurprisingly we've got Mario. Mario is a DPS, a melee character to be specific. Let's start with his primary fire, which is Punch. You know, it's a standard melee attack, maybe a little bit boring, but if Mario manages to land 3 hits on an opponent consecutively, then the 4th strike launches Mario and the enemy upwards, kind of like his up B in Smash Bros. Next up, his secondary fire, which is Cap Throw. Mario throws his cap forwards, damaging enemies. This could be used kind of like a space control thing, but you know, limited to a very small area. Mario can also dive towards it, kind of like in Mario Odyssey, and this can also be used as a platform to bounce off of. If you hold down secondary fire, then Mario does a cap spin throw instead. Mario throws his cap in a circular path around him, dealing damage in its radius. This is kind of like an AoE damage sort of thing. Now let's talk about his abilities. His first ability is Fire Flower. Mario will consume a Fire Flower, and then for 5 seconds he will be able to shoot fireballs with his primary attack. This isn't meant to be a long-range attack, kind of like in the Mario games. The fire projectile will have a downwards trajectory, so it'll be very limited to kind of your immediate surroundings, but it will give you like a bit of range temporarily. Now his second ability is what's really important about his moveset. Ability 2 is Super Jump, but it's context dependent. Mario performs a high jump if you press it without any other input direction. So if you're just standing still and you press that, then Mario jumps really high. If Mario is airborne, then Mario performs a spin jump, which damages opponents near you. If you hold down crouch, then Mario performs a long jump towards the direction he's facing. And lastly, if you're holding down a direction while you use this ability, then Mario performs a somersault. This move has 2 charges. The thing about Mario is that if he lands on top of an enemy, then he does damage to it. Kind of like, you know, when Mario lands on a Goomba. And that's why he has a lot of abilities that do like vertical movement, because in my mind, that is how you're supposed to play Mario in this hero shooter. So he's very skittish, he's very jumpy, so I think he'd be kind of annoying to deal with, but you know, he is a close range character, so you'll have to deal with him from afar. If Mario presses crouch while he is airborne, then he does a ground pound. So this is kind of like a faster way for him to go down and hit enemies below him. And finally, Mario's ultimate move is the Wonder Flower. Mario consumes a Wonder Flower and transforms into Elephant Mario, causing enemies within a wide radius to dance, unable to attack nor use their abilities. Lasts 12 seconds. This is kind of like the Boogie Bomb from Fortnite. The enemies can still move around and run away from Mario's radius ultimately, but you know, in the moment, if they're still within the wide radius that Elephant Mario casts, then they will not be able to do much. As Elephant Mario, he has his, you know, ultimate specific movesets. For his primary fire as Elephant Mario, he uses Trunk Whip. Mario uses his trunks to hit enemies. The 3rd strike launches them upwards. His secondary fire is Water Blast. Mario hits enemies with blasts of water, kind of like in Mario Wonder. He can still use his super jump abilities as Elephant Mario, but he does more damage when he stomps on an enemy. Finally, he still has ground pound as Elephant Mario. Lastly, all of the characters have a passive ability. Mario's passive ability is called Jumpman. Kind of like Genji in Overwatch, if Mario manages to secure an elimination, then he gets 1 charge back to his super jump. So I think that'd be interesting. You know, he gets a lot of movement. He's kind of like a frog jumping around the place. I think it'd be a very interesting thing for his character. All right. So in terms of the illustration, this isn't actually the pose that I was hoping would win the polls, but you know, it's what won, so I'm going with what the people want. So yeah, this pretty standard jumping pose. This is Mario that I based off of his Mario Wonder appearance. So that's where the proportions come from, why he's a little bit more chibi and stuff. I wanted him to have the fireball out to show, you know, a little bit of edge. And because this is a hero shooter, I thought that it would be, you know, kind of important to make him have a weapon of some sort. So yeah, I guess the fireball is his weapon, even though not really, you know? So yeah, I had a lot of fun rendering this. Actually, it just took me 1 day, when usually compared to the Jubilee illustration that I made for the first time, it took me like a couple days. So I was glad that I managed to learn how to draw faster and stuff like that in this rendering style. So yeah, not much more to say on that front. Alright, that's it for Mario for now. Let's move on to our next character, which is Pikachu. Pikachu is meant to be a support character. Now let's talk about his moveset. Pikachu's primary fire is, of course, Thunder Shock. Pikachu's electricity tethers onto an ally or enemy for as long as he has ammo, granting healing or damage respectively. So you can think of this generally as like a medic from TF2, where there's like an auto aim lock for his beam. If Pikachu is targeting an ally, then this will continuously heal them, but if he is targeting an enemy, then this will continuously damage them. This won't do a lot of damage, of course. Pikachu will have to reload from time to time, so it's not exactly like Mercy from Overwatch, because I just think that it'd be more interesting for Pikachu to have to resource manage his stuff. It's because I don't want to encourage like heal botting, so now there's a bit more strategy involved, so I think that'd be interesting. I don't know. Let's move on to his secondary fire, which is Electro Ball. Pikachu stuns an enemy with paralysis. So basically, this is meant to be a slow projectile that Pikachu launches forward. If it hits an enemy, it will stun them for a couple seconds. Let's move on to Pikachu's abilities. His ability 1 is Discharge. Pikachu does burst healing or damage within a small radius around him. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. You know, Pikachu like explodes into a ball, not really. And yeah, he does burst healing or burst damage. And for his ability 2, this is Dash. Pikachu blinks towards the input direction and it has 2 charges. This is pretty straightforward. This is like Tracer's Blink in Overwatch. So this is really just movement based. There's no damage involved with this. This is mostly for Pikachu to escape a situation. So next up, we've got Wall Ride. Pikachu can run on walls for 1 second and perform wall jumps. This is if you press the jump button while you're next to a wall. But yeah, this is kind of like Rocket Raccoon from Marvel Rivals or Lucio from Overwatch, except he can't do a wall ride forever. It's just a really quick thing, you know, 1 second and then Pikachu will fall off the wall. But you can like jump to the next wall and do another wall jump there and stuff like that. Next up, we've got the Partner Pokemon ability. Pikachu can ride on the shoulders of most characters, granting damage mitigation. I say most characters because I don't know if this would look good for other small characters, like, you know, think of Kirby. Kirby is really small, so I don't think Pikachu can physically ride Kirby. So if you notice from Pikachu's moveset, he's very much meant to be like a close range healer, because you're meant to be like pocketing a little bit with Pikachu. Lastly, we've got his ultimate, which is Thunder. Pikachu creates a strong area of effect around him that heals allies and damages enemies, lasts 6 seconds. So kind of like in the anime, you know, Pikachu shouts, Pikachu! And there's like a huge torrent of like lightning around him in a huge radius. For Pikachu's passive ability, it's called Leftovers, which, you know, it heals him slowly over time if he is not hit for 2 seconds. By the way, if you disagree with any of the abilities I have listed for any of these characters, then feel free to comment down below and, you know, leave your own suggestions. I think this is a really fun little conversation we could have. For Pikachu, I'm actually glad this is the pose that won. I gave you 4 options for this one. But yeah, I do agree that the second one is the most dynamic. But yeah, this is meant to be Pikachu kind of doing a flip and performing an Iron Tail or something similar. But yeah, this is kind of like angry Pikachu, edgy Pikachu. Yeah, not much to say about this one. I referenced the electric cheeks off of Storm's portrait in Marvel Rivals, so yeah, it's pretty nifty. Next up, we've got Samus. I thought real hard about this one because I couldn't decide initially if I wanted her to be a DPS character or a tank. I think that, you know, on a glance, Samus really fits the DPS role well. You know, she has a gun. Like, she is very much the poster child of what a hero shooter would be. But for this one, I made her a tank because I think that the way I made her moveset gives more credence to that idea. Let's start with her primary fire, which is her power beam. These are quick projectile attacks, you know, bog standard left click. They're exactly like they are in Metroid, but because she's a tank, this is not meant to be like something that does a lot of damage. Next up, we've got her secondary fire, which is charge beam. Hold down the secondary fire button to charge and release to shoot a powerful blast. So this will do a lot of damage, but this projectile is slow and you can dodge this fairly easily. Think of this as like Samus's charge beam from Smash, except it doesn't stun enemies, it just hits them. Alright, so this is our first character to have a special melee move, which is melee counter. Samus can parry incoming attacks when timed correctly. This could be melee attacks, this could be projectiles. Samus can parry them away if timed correctly, and this ability has no cooldown. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. This is one of the reasons why I put Samus as a defense character, because of this ability. Yeah. Next up, spin jump. Samus can do a double jump, and this deals minor damage to opponents within her vicinity. Let's move on to her abilities. So for her first ability, we've got Ice Beam. Samus creates a wall of ice in front of her that blocks incoming damage. This also damages opponents when they stand close to it. It has 2 charges. So when compared to Overwatch, it's kind of like the Mei wall, except it's not, you know, shaped like a wall. This is meant to be like spikes. Her second ability is Grappling Beam, which is pretty straightforward. Samus grapples onto ledges and walls for traversal. Next up, we've got Crouch. If you press Crouch, Samus morphs into a ball, making her traversal faster. So yeah, she's got a couple of movement options, but you know, she can't shoot while she's in morph ball form. Next up, we've got Power Slide. If Samus crouches while moving, Samus performs a Power Slide. This deals minor damage and knocks back enemies. And lastly, we've got her ultimate, which is called Energy Siphon. Samus absorbs and resists all damage within her radius for 4 seconds and fires it back with 2 times damage. She transforms into Zero Suit Samus afterwards. This is meant to be her powers from Metroid Dread, you know, when she uses her Metroid powers to defeat enemies during those cutscene things. So this is kind of like Magneto from Marvel Rivals, where he sucks all of the projectile attacks away from his teammates, and then he throws his ball. It's something like that, except instead of a ball, it's going to be like a huge laser, kind of like in Smash Ultimate. And then Samus turns into Zero Suit Samus afterwards. Zero Suit Samus's primary fire is the Paralyzer, which she uses to fire continuous projectiles. Her secondary fire is the Charge Stun. Samus stuns an enemy, but you can hold this to charge longer for longer stuns. She still has her melee counter and her power slide as Zero Suit Samus, so she isn't completely defenseless, but in this form she is no longer tanky and she can easily be picked off. Finally, her ultimate is called Suit Up, where Samus suits up and transforms back into regular old Samus from Metroid Dread. When I drew this, Metroid Prime Beyond hadn't revealed Samus's like red suit from that game, so that's really one of the reasons why I went for Metroid Dread, because at the time it was the most recent Metroid game that was like revealed and had new designs. I think this one's cool. Yeah. Also, this projectile, this is her performing a charge shot. I base this off of her like smash ability, really. I know this isn't what it looks like in game, but you know, I like how it's colorful in Smash, and hence that's why I used magenta and purple and blue for it. Alright, now we've got a character for each of the roles. It's time for us to double dip and circle back to DPS. Our next character is Link. Unsurprisingly, he is a DPS character, but the thing about Link is that he has a lot of utility. He's meant to be played both close range, but also from afar. Link actually has two weapons he can switch between at any time. His default weapon is the Master Sword. With the Master Sword equipped, his primary fire, of course, is swinging the sword. This is kind of slow, but it deals a lot of damage. But you can hold it down to do a spin attack, kind of like in the games. With the Master Sword equipped, if you press his secondary fire, he will bring out the Hylian Shield. The shield doesn't have a lot of health, but it does block incoming damage. Switching over to his second weapon, which is the bow and arrow. For this one, you hold down the secondary fire to scope in or draw his bow, and then left click to release the arrow to shoot. By default, Link shoots weak arrows, but you can charge his arrow attack to make it stronger. This is in the scale where like the longer you hold the arrow, the more damage it has. It's more of like it has a weak state and a strong state. Kind of like his primary fire with the Master Sword, where like if you just click it, it will do a swing, but if you hold it down, it'll do a spin attack. So let's skip on over to Link's abilities. His first ability is Ultra Hand. You press it, and then Link stretches his arms, then pulls enemies towards him. This is meant to be the ability from Tears of the Kingdom. I know you can't exactly pull enemies in that game, but in this one, we have some creative liberties to fit it into the mold of the hero shooter. So let's talk about Link's Sage abilities. This is very unique to his character. Basically, Link has a bunch of abilities in his moveset that share the same cooldown. So the first ability that we'll talk about is called Tulin's Gust. If airborne, Link can dash forwards in midair. So this is basically if Link presses the jump button twice, then Link will perform a Tulin's Gust, which propels him forwards. His second stage ability is called Riju Strike. This is if he has his Master Sword equipped, so if you hold down the primary fire, you know that he will do a spin attack, but if you hold it down for even longer, then you will do a Riju Strike, which is, a spin attack infused with lightning. So yeah, his primary fire has three states, which is the swing, the spin attack, and the Riju Strike. If Link has the bow and arrows equipped, then he can do the Yunobu's Fire Sage ability, which is basically an explosive arrow. So yeah, there's the standard weak bow and arrow attack, then the stronger charge attack, and then the strongest charged attack, which is the Yunobu's Fire, once again. And his last ability is actually ability 2, which is Sidon's Protection. Link is encased in a water bubble that blocks damage for 2 seconds. The water bubble health is inversely proportional to Link's health. This is exactly like Zarya's bubble or Magneto's bubble or the Hulk's bubble from these other games. And yeah, they're just like a shield that encases Link around him, makes him sort of invulnerable, not really, for a short duration. Again, these 4 Sage abilities are tied on the same cooldown, so if you use the Tulin's Gust, you can't suddenly Yunobu's Fire. The cooldown for the Sage abilities are pretty long, because I don't want Link to be too OP, and he does already have a lot of utility outside of like these Sage abilities. But I think this is an important key part of, Tears of the Kingdom Link, and be interesting to see the plays around that. For his ultimate, we've got Mineru's Construct. Link summons Mineru's Construct to either pilot or wreak havoc on its own. Lasts 10 seconds unless it's destroyed. So you can think of this as like Bob from Overwatch. By default, Mineru's Construct will attack the closest enemy towards it, but you can also pilot Mineru's Construct and deal damage manually if you want to. So let's talk about his moveset when he's piloting Mineru's Construct. His primary fire will be the Spiked Iron Ball, which is a standard melee attack. Slow, but deals massive damage. His secondary fire is Laser Emitter, which shoots a laser that deals continuous damage. This won't be a lot of damage, but it will be continuous, so if you get focused by this, it's gonna hurt a lot. Alright, again, this is not the post that I wanted to win, but it's the one that won. This is Link looking sidewards while drawing his sword out, and you can see that he has his arm that was like damaged in Tears of the Kingdom, and it's glowing because Ultra Hand powers and stuff like that. So yeah, this is just our short king in a cool pose looking towards the camera. His outfit is based off of his appearance in Tears of the Kingdom, you know, at the start where he's wearing the champion's tunic with the hood over it. And you can see his bow and arrows at the back. Also, he has the shield there somewhere underneath the cape, but you know, I opted not to draw it because it'll be bulky and stuff like that. And I could get away with it because there is like the hooded cape thing. So yeah. Moving on to our second support character, Inkling. This is meant to be a more mid-range, long-range support character. This is another character meant to have a lot of utility. So she has two weapons. Her first weapon is the Splatter Shot. Inkling shoots ink at medium range, healing allies and damaging enemies, just like Pikachu. This leaves plain splatters on the ground. Basically, if your allies are standing on top of it, it will heal them incrementally. Next up, we've got her second weapon, which is the Tent Umbrella. If she's got the Tent Umbrella equipped, Inkling shoots ink in single bursts. It does more healing and damage than the Splatter Shot, but it only fires in single bursts, and it also has a bit of a shorter range. Think of this as something like a shotgun. Let's move on to her secondary fire, which is for any weapon that she has, which is the Tent Umbrella Shield. Inkling shoots a shield forwards, blocking incoming fire until it is broken. It leaves behind a trail of ink in its path. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It will not block a lot of damage. It doesn't have a lot of shield health. It might be useful if your allies are fighting in front of you and you need to heal them continuously in a pinch. Alright, let's move on to Inkling's ability. Her first ability is basically she throws a sub-weapon. You can choose between two sub-weapons whenever you press it. Her first sub-weapon is the Sprinkler. Inkling throws a sprinkler that grants healing within its radius, and it lasts 5 seconds. It does AoE healing from where the bomb set off. Her second sub-weapon is Toxic Mist. Inkling throws a bomb that deals slowness. Yeah, kind of like in Splatoon, except it doesn't deal damage like it does in the actual Splatoon games. Let's move on to her next ability, which is ability 2, Squid Mode. If ink is present, Inkling dives into the ink and is able to swim in it for traversal. So yeah, this works exactly like it is in Splatoon, where you can shoot walls and floors, and if you press this ability, then Inkling can dive into them and like swim up walls and stuff like that. Lastly, her ultimate is called Kraken Royale. This is much like in Splatoon, you know? Inkling transforms into a giant squid that can attack opponents, leaving large trails of ink on the ground. So this is kind of like an offensive ultimate where you can hit opponents with your squid form and also heal your allies with it. Her passive is called Ink Trail. Ink trails left by Inkling grant slow healing to allies. The ink despawns after 5 seconds. So yeah, this is Inkling, the orange Inkling from the Splatoon 1 box art and also Smash. I thought about drawing Agent 3 instead of this Inkling, but I figured that this Inkling is more iconic to people who don't play Splatoon. I had a lot of trouble drawing her shoes. I don't really like drawing shoes. It's a lot of detail, but yeah, I mean, I like how it turned out in the end. It's really detailed, and yeah, I don't know. I just like the way this one turned out. I had to adjust her face a lot of times, as you can see earlier in the speed paint, because I don't know, it just didn't look right at first. But yeah, I'm happy with how this turned out, and yeah. And finally, our last character. I don't know if you could guess who this is. I'll give you your final thoughts, but she is a character that came from the Switch generation, so she's kind of new, but also not new because the Switch is 8 years old. I forget when this game came out, but this is Ring Fit Trainee. I really like this game. Back when I had a Switch, I used to play this game a lot, and yeah, it's really fun. So this game really sold well. So I think that she deserves a spot in whatever Nintendo crossover game that Nintendo has upcoming, you know? So let's talk about her moveset. Her primary fire is called the Bow Pull. This is a long-range hit scan attack. Can be charged, but can't headshot. So yeah, basically, this is kind of like Link's bow, except this is hit scan, not a projectile, so it hits enemies instantly. If you're hit with this, you'll see giant fists punching you, just like in Ring Fit Adventure. This isn't a super strong attack, but it's decent for providing peel damage. but you can charge this weapon by holding down to be more powerful. Her secondary fire is Ab Guard. Ring Fit Trainee holds up a giant shield to block incoming attacks. This is like Reinhardt's shield from Overwatch or Magneto's shield from Marvel Rivals. Basically, this is a large shield that will block incoming projectiles and also melee attacks, because there's a lot of melee characters in our Nintendo Rivals game. So next up is the Standing Twist. This is a melee attack that swings left to right, damaging multiple enemies in its path. You'll see a giant set of abs swinging left and right, and you'll be pushed slightly in its swing direction if caught in the crossfire. Let's talk about her abilities. Her first ability is called Overhead Squat. Ring Fit Trainee stomps enemies in front of her, dealing damage and stunning enemies. This can be charged for longer stunts. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. You'll see a giant foot descend from the skies, and just like the bow pull, you can charge this attack to be more effective. In this case, it'll have longer stunts. Her second ability is called the Fan Pose. She recovers health, but she has to stay stationary. You have to hold down the button to continuously heal. Basically, that's my concept for her entire moveset. Like, there's a lot of holding in her moveset. I tried to reflect that by, if you hold buttons, it does more damage or healing and stuff like that. Ring Fit Trainee can also do a leap forwards using Air Blast. This is basically a double jump that launches her towards her input direction. And lastly, her ultimate is the Victory Pose. This knocks enemies down in a wide radius around Ring Fit Trainee. This leaves them open to attacks from both you and your teammates for the duration of the knockdown. Let's talk about her passive abilities, which is really interesting in my opinion. Her passive ability is called On Fire. Landing hits and blocking damage adds to Ring Fit Trainee's fire meter. When completely filled, Ring Fit Trainee transforms into her On Fire state, which reduces cooldown time and makes her attack and movement animations faster. This meter depletes quickly on its own. So yeah, basically this speeds her up both in attack speed and movement speed. So yeah, if she successfully blocks or hits you a lot, then she will be on fire, kind of like in Ring Fit Adventure. While on fire, her primary fire changes into Crate Crasher. This is a long-range projectile attack where she shoots fireballs instead of the bow pull. This is based off of the minigame of the same name. Alright, lastly we've got the Ring Fit Trainee. So this is her doing her tree pose. I actually did 3 alternate poses for her, just like the other ones, except I didn't ask you guys to choose for any pose of this one because I wanted to keep this character a surprise. I decided to go with the tree pose because it's dynamic and she doesn't do this pose in any of her official arts. So yeah, she's actually pretty simple to draw for me. She was a lot of fun to draw. I think it was really difficult for me to draw the ring. I forgot what the ring is called in game. It's been a while since I played Ring Fit Adventure, but yeah, the ring texture is like really trippy for me. So yeah, it was difficult, but I think I pulled through. And again, for all these artworks, it's really the highlight that pulls everything together into a coherent design. So I'm very thankful for that. Thank you, Marvel Rivals art style, for having that. And finally, here is everyone in a banner. If we do more videos, I will add more characters to this banner. Yeah, it's a fun little thing. I like everybody here. It's great. So yeah, these are the 6 characters, our first team in Nintendo Rivals, or whatever the fuck this game will be called. Let me know what you think about this roster. Let me know what you think about their movesets. Thank you so much to these wonderful patrons. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, you can head on over to this link here down below. You will be able to download project files from my videos like this one, where you can download, you know, Mario, Link, etc. And also all my previous render breakdowns so far. Also, my commissions are open if you want to commission me in the Marvel Rivals art style or, you know, something else, my own art style, pixel art, whatever. I have my commission form in the link down below as well. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video. So yeah, I hope you like this video. If this video does well, I will do a part 2. I hope you don't mind me experimenting outside of Render Breakdown. The series will still continue, you know, Render Breakdown will not go anywhere, but I will be doing more random videos in between, you know, sometimes art related, sometimes just video game related. But I hope you stick around. I hope that my videos are interesting to you. So yeah, I will see you on the next one. Thanks for hanging out. And that's about it. It has been Thomas. Bye bye. Ciao.